why can't they have a voice? I met Harry, and it must have been about 15 years ago. It was when they did the concert for Diana at Wembley in memory of their mother. And I, in fact, was introducing Kanye West. And afterwards, we were invited to a little get-together with the princes, and we couldn't take any of our plus ones with us, so I had to go alone. And William came over, and he was so lovely and polite and shook my hand and everything. And then Harry sort of bounced across the room, and he went, "Get out of the way," and said, "I want a hug." And he gave me the best hug. And then William said, "Okay, can I have one then, please?" I'm sure they did that to all the other gorgeous people there. I think they were just being very kind to me, but they seemed so down to earth, and he was just a joy.
And there was a warmth, wasn't there? There was a warmth we saw that certainly seemed to come through their mum particularly, and all that she instilled in them. There's that warmth and generosity and need to hug, which had been such at odds with what we'd expected from the royal family up till that point. And then we sort of cut to 30 years later. He's a father himself, he's a husband himself, and he's having to make decisions because, as he said, it was, you know, his position and what was happening because of the British press, in his words, was destroying his family.
Well, this is right. In the media nowadays, in the past, it was, newspaper one day, fish and chips the next, because of the internet, and nothing goes unnoticed, and it hangs around, and I think it's very unfair. I'm a huge supporter of.
So, did hell just briefly freeze over on Good Morning Britain, or did a UK morning show actually allow a woman to speak honestly about Prince Harry without immediately shouting, "But Meghan!" into the void? Because that was Patsy Kensit doing something wildly rebellious for British television, speaking like a human being with a memory and a conscience. Let's talk about what just happened, because the UK media is going to pretend it didn't. They're going to clip around it, misquote it, ignore the parts that matter, and by tomorrow, someone will be asking why Patsy suddenly turned woke, or whatever buzzword they're using this week. But no, she didn't turn anything. She simply told the truth. And the truth, inconveniently for the British press, once again makes Prince Harry look exactly like what he's always been, and makes Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, make even more sense in hindsight. First of all, can we appreciate the visual Patsy painted? She meets the princes years ago at the Diana concert at Wembley, already iconic, already emotionally loaded, already a reminder of what these two boys lost in front of the entire world. And what does she remember? Not arrogance, not entitlement, not coldness. She remembers warmth. She remembers William being polite, formal, very royal-coded, shaking hands. And then Harry bouncing across the room like, "Move, I want a hug." That right there, that's the Harry we've always known. The Harry who hugs first. The Harry who breaks protocol without even thinking about it. The Harry who inherited Diana's instinct to connect before perform. And notice something important. This isn't coming from a Sussex fan account, or an American talk show, or a Netflix documentary the UK media loves to scream about. This is Patsy Kensit on Good Morning Britain, on a show that has not exactly been the Sussexes' biggest cheerleader. And she didn't just gush for nostalgia's sake, she contextualized. She said there was a warmth there that felt different from what people expected from the royal family at the time. A generosity, a need to hug, a humanity that very clearly came from their mother. And already, just in that moment, the narrative collapses. Because if Harry was always this warm, always this emotionally open, always this affectionate, then what exactly are we pretending changed? Oh, right. He married Duchess of Sussex. Funny how that's when the media suddenly decided he was unstable, angry, manipulated, and lost. Convenient. Very convenient. Patsy then does something even more dangerous. She fast-forwards. She doesn't freeze Harry in time as a cheeky lad mascot for the monarchy. She doesn't trap him in perpetual bachelorhood for public consumption. She acknowledges reality. Harry grew up. Harry became a husband. Harry became a father. And with that came responsibility. She very clearly says he's having to make decisions Decisions because of his position. Decisions because of what was happening. Decisions because, in his own words, the British press was destroying his family. And there it is. The sentence the UK media never want spoken out loud on their own platforms. Destroying his family. Not criticizing, not scrutinizing, not holding accountable. Destroying. And suddenly, all the hysteria about Harry complaining falls apart. Because when a man says something is destroying his family and then removes his family from that environment, that's not weakness. That's protection. But protection is only praised in men when it aligns with the system. When it threatens the system, suddenly it's a problem. Patsy also touched on something the UK media loves to pretend is new or exaggerated or imagined, the relentlessness of modern media. She pointed out that back in the day, something would be in the newspaper one day and then disappear. Now, the internet never forgets. Nothing goes unnoticed, nothing goes away, everything stacks, everything circulates, everything multiplies, and that matters. Because Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, didn't just face bad press. She faced industrial-scale character assassination, powered by algorithms, outrage cycles, and a press corps that realized she was profitable to demonize. And Harry watched that happen. Let's be very clear. Harry didn't wake up one morning and randomly decide to turn against his family, or his country, or his role. He recognized a pattern that already had a body count. His mother was hounded. His mother was chased. His mother was reduced to headlines and caricatures, and his mother died while being pursued by the press. So when his wife started being targeted, racially, viciously, obsessively, and when the palace refused to protect her, what exactly were people expecting him to do? Sit still and smile? Patsy didn't say any of this angrily. That's the part that really rattles them. She said it calmly, reasonably, with empathy. She didn't scream, she didn't dramatize, she didn't accuse, she simply acknowledged reality. And that's far more powerful. Because here's the thing. When someone like Patsy Kensit speaks up, she can't be dismissed as some American who doesn't understand the monarchy. She can't be brushed off as a Sussex mouthpiece. She can't be accused of clout chasing. She's British. She was there. She met them. She remembers. And she remembers Harry as joyful, warm, affectionate, and consistent. Which brings us to Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Because everything Patsy described, that warmth, that generosity, that instinct to hug, that desire to connect, that's Meghan too. And maybe, just maybe, that's why Harry didn't lose himself when he met Meghan. Maybe he recognized himself. This idea that Meghan changed Harry has always been ridiculous when you actually listen to people who knew him before. Not palace courtiers, not anonymous friends, real people. Artists, charities, veterans, people who interacted with him without an agenda. They all say the same thing. He was always like this. What changed was that he finally had someone who validated that side of him instead of suppressing it. And that's the part that makes the British media deeply uncomfortable. Because Meghan didn't create a rebel. She supported a man who was already questioning a system that demanded emotional self-erasure. Notice, too, how Patsy never blamed Meghan, not even indirectly. No but, no side-eye, no coded language. She framed Harry's choices as his own, as a father, as a husband, which directly contradicts the infantilizing narrative the UK press pushes, the one where Harry is a helpless puppet and Meghan is some cartoon villain twirling her mustache in Montecito. Let's talk about why this moment matters. Because every time a UK media figure breaks ranks, even briefly, it chips away at the manufactured consensus. It reminds viewers that the hostility toward the Sussexes is not universal, not inevitable, and not rooted in truth. It's rooted in control. Harry leaving removed their access. Meghan speaking removed their narrative monopoly, and the public hearing voices like Patsy's reminds people that the press is not the moral authority it pretends to be. And you could almost feel the tension in that studio, the unspoken panic, because when someone says something compassionate about Harry on British TV, it creates a problem. Now they have to pivot. Now they have to redirect. Now they have to drag Meghan into it somehow. But today, just for a moment, they couldn't. And that's why moments like this are important to document, because tomorrow the same outlets will run another hit piece, another anonymous source, another royal expert saying Harry is bitter, Meghan is difficult, and everything would be fine if they just came back and shut up. But we saw this. We heard someone say Harry was joyful. We heard someone acknowledge Diana's influence. We heard someone validate his decision to protect his family. We heard someone call the media treatment unfair on Good Morning Britain. And that, my friends, is not nothing. So the next time they ask why Harry speaks out, why he draws boundaries, why he refuses to play the game, remember this. Remember the warmth. Remember the hug. Remember the man who grew into a father and refused to sacrifice his family for optics. And remember that Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, didn't take anything away from him. She stood beside him while he chose himself. And honestly, that's a low story the British press will never forgive. But the truth doesn't need their forgiveness. It just needs witnesses.